All right, let's jump right into today's explainer and fundamentally reframe how we think about testing and grades in education. Look, for a really long time, the word assessment has carried this heavy, almost intimidating weight. But what if we completely flipped that script? What if we stopped looking at assessments as a stressful final destination and started viewing them as a highly calibrated GPS system for learning? Seriously, think back to the last time you took a massive test. Did it actually help you learn anything, or was it just this highly stressful final judgment? For a lot of us, it was definitely the latter. But the modern understanding of educational assessment, it's not just about handing out exams or slapping a letter grade on a transcript at the end of a semester. It is so much more dynamic than that. It's actually an integral, ongoing part of the teaching and learning process itself. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. Rethinking educational assessment, 2. The 7 principles of assessment, 3. The 3 types of assessment, and finally, 4. Modern trends in assessment. Okay, starting with part 1, rethinking educational assessment. Let's look at this major paradigm shift. The absolutely crucial point here is that modern assessment acts as a continuous GPS for learning. As educational expert W.J. Popham pointed out back in 2017, assessment is fundamentally about evidence-based decision-making. Nitko and Brookhart totally echo this, noting that it's a systematic process of gathering information to make critical decisions. And that's not just about the learners, by the way. It informs curricula, instructional programs, and even massive educational policies. The whole shebang is aimed at one primary goal: improving student achievement. And you can see how we've really moved away from that old school, punitive paper and pencil testing into an era that is highly supportive and completely learner-centered. Just look at the continuous flow of this process. We collect evidence, we interpret it, we actually use it, and then we improve instruction. This is a massive shift, you guys. We're finally recognizing that students learn in wonderfully diverse ways, and because of that, they should be able to demonstrate their learning through varied forms of evidence. It guides every instructional decision and monitors progress every single step of the way. Moving right along to Section 2, the 7 principles of assessment. Now, for an assessment to actually be useful, for it to be that reliable GPS we just talked about, it has to be built on a rock-solid foundation. There are 7 foundational rules every single educator has to follow. Let's break down exactly what these are. The first 2 principles are basically the bedrock of any test: validity and reliability. To put it simply, validity means the assessment measures exactly what it's intended to measure. You wouldn't use a handwriting test to measure a student's public speaking skills, right? That makes no sense. Reliability, on the other hand, is all about consistency. If a student's work earns an 85, it should ideally get that exact same score regardless of who grades it or when they take it. Beyond those 2 big ones, we have 5 more critical principles. First up, fairness, meaning a totally level playing field with equal opportunities for all learners, regardless of gender, culture, disability, or socioeconomic background. Then there's practicality, because, let's face it, the assessment actually has to be feasible given our limited time and resources. We also need authenticity, meaning tasks should mirror real-life applications. We need continuous assessment happening throughout the learning process, not just at the end. And finally, alignment. This is what Biggs and Tang call constructive alignment, ensuring our assessments perfectly match our learning outcomes, our activities, and our curriculum standards. All right, Section 3, the 3 types of assessment. Let's categorize exactly how we gather all this evidence. I really want you to focus heavily on the prepositions here: for, as, and of. It sounds like a grammar lesson, I know, but these 3 little words completely change the purpose, the timing, and the main user of the evaluation. Assessment serves so many stakeholders: teachers, students, parents, administrators, policymakers. But how and when we assess entirely determines who gets the most value out of it right in that moment. Notice how these 3 distinct types are all beautifully interconnected. We've got formative activities that improve instruction, metacognitive exercises where students learn to self-regulate, and your traditional summative measurements to confirm learning. Let's look a little closer at the first 2, because they're the true engines of ongoing learning. Formative assessment for learning is all about catching misconceptions right on the fly. As researchers Black and William pointed out in their foundational work, this is assessment conducted during instruction. Its main purpose isn't to assign a grade at all, but to provide diagnostic, ongoing feedback. Teachers and students use tools like exit tickets, class discussions, and quick quizzes to adjust instruction mid-stride. It makes sure everyone is on the right path before moving forward. Assessment AS, learning takes this a step further and turns the mirror squarely onto the student. Building on the previous concept, researcher Lorna Earle emphasized that this type of assessment fosters self-assessment, reflection, and metacognition. Through activities like learning journals, self-rating checklists, or peer feedback, students take a highly active role in monitoring their own progress. The goal here is incredibly powerful. We want to develop students into independent, lifelong learners who can actively evaluate their own strengths and weaknesses. Which brings us to our final section, number 4, modern trends in assessment. Modern assessment is evolving so fast right now. We're seeing a massive push toward environments that are much more inclusive, accommodating diverse learners, and competency-based, which focuses on actual mastery rather than just time spent sitting in a seat. We're also seeing a huge reliance on technology, everything from learning management systems and AI-assisted feedback to digital portfolios. These tools provide immediate feedback and allow for some truly amazing personalized learning. A real game changer here is authentic assessment. The crucial point with this trend is that it pulls students completely out of the theoretical testing bubble and challenges them with real-world applications. Instead of just bubbling in a multiple-choice sheet, students are asked to demonstrate their learning through concrete projects, live performances, and complex simulations. It makes the learning meaningful, equitable, and highly effective for their future careers. And to make this continuous feedback loop a reality, educators are leveraging quick, low-stakes, data-driven tools known as classroom assessment techniques, or CATs. Think of a minute paper where students just quickly write down their key takeaways, or the muddiest point where they literally tell you the concept they found most confusing that day, or even just a simple exit slip responding to a prompt before leaving the room. These are fast, simple, low stakes, but exceptionally high-impact ways to constantly recalculate that learning GPS before the class even ends. So now that we've completely reframed tests from being stressful final judgments into powerful, data-driven tools for growth and self-reflection, I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Whether you are a student, an educator, or just a lifelong learner, if the true goal of assessment is to continuously guide and improve learning, how will you approach your next evaluation differently? Keep that in mind and happy learning.